Are atheists open-minded? Many.
That's a rather broad question, isn't it? You're asking whether a diverse group of people sharing only non-belief in gods, and that for any number of reasons, are open-minded. The question is ill-formed and thus has no answer. Now, were you to ask whether this atheist is open-minded, I'd have a ready answer. Yes, I try at least. I'll go with that.
Many atheists I talk to say, of course, I'm open-minded. Show me the evidence or proof that God exists, and I'll believe. But when they're
All right, we're on the same page so far. Keep going.
But when they're presented with proofs for the existence of God, those same atheists will say, that's just fallacious God of the gaps reasoning. Your evidence for God comes from ignorance. You say, I don't know what caused the Big Bang, therefore God did it. I'd rather wait for science to provide the correct explanation and not rush to put God in a gap of my knowledge.
Wait. You say that if you provide proofs for the existence of your God, and I will assume that you're talking about your God, since as a Catholic you reject the existence of Zeus, Thor, Shiva, Hanuman et al. I'm going to attempt to refute God of the gaps, whatever your proof might be. This suggests that either all you have is a God of the gaps argument, which would indicate that you have a very weak apologetic, or that you're building a straw man. Personally, I smell straw.
But if you say that any possible evidence for God isn't good enough, then you aren't really open-minded. You assumed that no evidence is good enough, so you've already made up your mind beforehand. If you're
Whoa, where did that come from? Who said that I'm rejecting any possible evidence for the existence of your God? Did you even ask me? And where do you get off telling me what I'm assuming? I'll tell you that I do make a limited set of foundational assumptions, but what you're assuming that I'm assuming doesn't even come close.
If you're an atheist, take a minute and try to honestly answer this question. What specific evidence would convince you that God exists? Don't say what type of evidence would convince you. Come up with a specific example. A common one I hear.
All right, here it is. Were your God to manifest to a reasonably large number of people, perhaps a few thousand or even a few hundred, of diverse backgrounds, believers in your God, believers in other gods, believers in no gods, who were not acquainted with each other, and simultaneously would be nice, with exactly the same message, especially a message that stood in stark opposition to the beliefs of at least some of the recipients. I'd sit up and take notice.
A common one I hear is that if after praying an amputated limb grew back, then the person would believe in God.
Holy shit.
Why, you did say something, didn't you? Are you doing that on purpose? Or can't you make up your mind?
That's the trouble. I can't make up my mind. I haven't got a brain. Only straw.
How can you talk if you haven't got a brain?
I don't know. But some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
Yes, I guess you're right.
But isn't that a God of the gaps argument? Aren't you saying, I don't know what caused this limb to grow back, therefore God did it? The argument's...
Oh, for the love of St. Gulick, you can't even build a straw man right. No, this is not a God of the gaps argument. No, the cause of the regrown limb is not unknown. The cause of the regrown limb would be the prayer. Have you heard of John Stuart Mill's method of difference? Amputated limbs don't spontaneously regrow. So, if a prayer is said and the limb regenerates, all else being equal, the cause is the prayer. And here is where you really step on your own crank. Therefore, God did it doesn't even apply. The act of praying itself could conceivably regenerate the limb. No middleman necessary. For that matter, the flying spaghetti monster could have heard the prayer and regenerated the limb. Where did you get your training in philosophy? Walmart?
The arguments for the existence of God don't take the form of, I don't know, therefore God. Instead, they take the form of, there are good reasons to believe effect X can never be explained naturally. Therefore, it must have a supernatural explanation, or God. If you agree that...
Oh, so close. Then you went belly up. Arguments for the existence of your God indeed do not take the form of, I don't know, therefore God. They do take the form of, there are good reasons to believe that effect X is caused by your God. But why did you have to put a banana peel under your own shoe? Why did you have to define your God as supernatural? Let's take a step back, in fact, and define supernatural, since you didn't. Merriam-Webster defines supernatural as of or relating to an order of existence beyond the visible universe. Can you see the cracks forming in your argument yet? That which is beyond or outside of the observable universe is incapable of interacting with said observable universe. It and the observable universe are causally disconnected. Anything causally connected to the natural cannot be supernatural. It must itself be natural. If your God can regenerate human limbs, if it can deliver commandments to Moses, if it can order Abraham to murder his son, it must be natural. It must be a part of nature. But you have defined your God as supernatural, so it can do none of those things. In fact, your God cannot exist at all, because you insist that it can do those things when it clearly cannot. Your God cannot exist because it is self-contradictory.
If you agree that limbs can't come into existence from nothing, and therefore any such regrown limbs require a divine cause, then if the universe came into existence from nothing, wouldn't that require a divine cause? If not, why not? If you're truly...
Now you're telling me what I agree to. Will you quit that already? I accept none of that. Your blathering about regrown limbs is a straw man. And as far as the universe is concerned, I don't know its ultimate origin. I don't know does not equal came from nothing. And it surely doesn't equal has a defined cause. I don't know equals I don't know. Now, I'd like to learn as much as I can about the origin and fate of the universe, but learn does not equal swallow your crap whole.
If you're truly open-minded, then check out the reasons for God that the best philosophers, past and present, have put forward. Even if they don't convince you, at least after critically examining them, you'll be able to say why they don't convince you. That's better than just assuming they don't succeed and not bothering to do some critical thinking on one of the most important questions of all time. For Catholic Answers, I'm Trent Horn, and thanks for watching.
I do investigate arguments for the existence of the divine. I will continue to do so. And for the last time, I am not assuming what you accuse me of assuming. There may be a good argument for the existence of the divine out there somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. And as for the existence of your God, you have already disproven that yourself. No further work from me is required. Finally, I would hardly call the question of the existence of your God one of the most important of all time. Far more important is what you attempt to do with that God of yours, whose rights you would deny, whose existences you would attempt to erase. And in regard to those things, you, sir, have found a tenacious foe. For Vox Rationis, I am Diana Clarion, and I thank you for watching.